see who draws first blood today. I don't know how much of the show you caught yesterday, but at the early part of the show, I made mention of the fact that we're getting a lot more views on Rumble than on YouTube, and maybe the thing to do now is when we have more subscribers on Rumble than we do on YouTube, which we're rapidly approaching. Maybe that's the time to just say, you know what? Fuck YouTube. And good morning. Oh, fun. Son of a bitch. It did that thing again. All right. Well, we're just going to talk over the thumbnail for a minute while I try to fix the camera. Cameron's back in studio with us. Good morning, brother. How you doing?
Good morning. That was, I'm just going to steal your jokes. Like, are you auditioning to be the next tranny in front of the White House? Hot Chick Red Pill Twitter had a lot of fun with that. They were all making snarky comments about how, like, no, those moves were sexy, buddy. Like, because they were moobs, not boobs.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah. Well, okay then. I guess when you said we are going to talk, you meant I need to talk.
Yeah, you need to carry this conversation for a minute so I can figure this son of a bitch out.
GCM asks, is this OnlyFans? No.
No, but you can buy me a coffee.
No. And in all reality, like, how many fans would we get? Not many. We'd be lucky for it to be only fan. Oh. So, Donald Trump was indicted on federal crimes, and it's the only thing that anybody, anywhere, everywhere is talking about. Like, I'm signed up for the push updates from WSB. Like, literally, I got a push update that's like, Donald Trump arrives at the courthouse. And then I got another one that said, Donald Trump enters into a plea at the courthouse. And then I got another one that's like, Donald Trump is leaving the courthouse. And it's like, okay, guys, I get it. Danny says it's more like lonely fans.
Ouch.
Ooh. Ooh, that's
fair enough.
That's
yeah,
that's rough coming from her. She's just she's about to crack 1,000 on YouTube. Just telling people how to eat right and doing exercise routines. So I wish I could say that's the first time in my life a pretty girl said that I was trash. But it would not, and not even a little bit. Okay, well, while Chris is,
I'm sorry, brother. This is
Nope, it's okay. While Chris is doing all that, I'm just going to point out, I have, wait, are we good?
We're good.
Okay, excellent. We're good.
I don't have I have no explanation. I have no idea what happened. Camera froze and just shit the bed.
And then you clicked a bunch of things and it unfroze. I have a somewhat different take about the Donald Trump arraignment and indictment and all that. I'm gonna reference the Brittany Griner situation as a point of comparison. On the one hand, I think Brittany Griner was guilty, and
That's pretty obvious.
and I mean, let's be clear. Bringing drugs through an international airport, like if there was a top 10 list of stupid, that's on it. Okay, like,
Right. And it's not like she got caught trying to smuggle drugs. She just had drugs in her pocket.
I thought they were in her suitcase, but that's not the point. The point is she's trying to bring drugs through an international airport. But at the same time, I also always believed it was true that the Russian government was aggressively pursuing her and overcharging her in order to embarrass the Biden administration. It was a political prosecution. She's a black lesbian sports hero, and boy, those are some loose scare quotes. So there was going to be a lot of pressure on the Biden administration and be like, hey, like this girl checks off like basically damn near every victim group there is in the United States. So you have to do something about her. And they managed.
So let's victimize her.
And you have to do something about it because the Democrat Party in the United States has made it clear. And so, hey, you know, if you've got enough victim points, we are on your side. I am not as entirely convinced of Trump's guilt, but I use that as a jumping off point because two things could be true at the same time. Trump could have done something wrong, and the prosecution against Trump could be politically motivated. I know that there is a lot of what people refer to as whataboutism, and in particular, you know, the 30,000 deleted emails from Hillary. Like, this is a bad joke. If anybody should have gotten in trouble for these exact things, not only for the mishandling of classified information, but then defying the orders of the officials to hand that classified information back over. That's Hillary Clinton. You don't delete 30,000 emails on accident.
Right. With Clinton, you've got the forensically proven use of BleachBit, which is designed is a piece of software that's designed explicitly for the art of spoliation. That's the destruction of evidence. You've got the video evidence of her staffers smashing telephones and hard drives and the like with hammers to destroy potential points of investigation. With Donald Trump, at best, you have a claim that somebody moved a box from one storage location to another storage location.
Well, no, I'm going to use your language, even though I don't necessarily think that it's best. But at best, what you have is Donald Trump lying to his own lawyers and causing his lawyers to inadvertently lie to the FBI after requesting directly that his lawyers lie to the FBI. There's a pretty big difference between those things. I mean, and it's not. And the thing is, as I think about how Trump acts and operates, could I see him saying, yes, I've got this plan from General Milley, and it was the bullshit, and it totally proves my case. Back off, you shouldn't even look at it. Yeah, I could see Trump doing that. And given the way that he has been unfairly targeted and persecuted this entire time. I mean, going all the way back to Russiagate, I could even see him going, I'm not turning over these documents. They're just going to use them to ruin me anyway. And I could see every bit of that happening. But, once you move to a point of, like, okay, I'm going to ask my lawyers to lie. I'm going to lie to my lawyers. And then I'm going to get my body man to start moving boxes around. Well, those pieces of information all fit together. And I heard you reference the Viva and Barnes thing. And Viva and Barnes sound very convincing, but Viva and Barnes are YouTube lawyers. You kind of have to sound convincing to be a YouTube lawyer.
Barnes... Viva is a YouTube lawyer. Barnes is a lawyer that speaks on YouTube. Barnes has one of the most prestigious records of not just victories in cases, but specifically high-level political cases. Barnes is more credible than Dershowitz on political analysis in legal cases.
Well, look, and I'm not saying that Viva and Barnes are wrong. I'm just saying that, like, for example, I also listened to Legal Eagle's video on it, and Legal Eagle sounded very convincing. Now, Legal Eagle's a piece of shit, but he sounded convincing. And then you mentioned Dershowitz. Dershowitz thinks Trump can beat all these charges. He actually thinks the thing that's going to be the hardest is going to be the audio recording, where he's like, oh yeah, I've got this document right here, and, that I could have declassified, but I didn't. Whereas Eric Erickson thinks that's a nothing. Donald Trump can beat that. It's actually the obstruction that is going to torpedo Donald Trump, because if even a little bit of it's true, as soon as you start hiding stuff from the feds, you're pretty well fucked. So to say that anybody really knows what's going to come next, we are so far into uncharted territory here that it's a little scary. So I just don't think that, at best or at worst, Donald Trump moves some boxes around. Well, I mean, Donald Trump moved some boxes around and lied to his own lawyers and hid information from a federal grand jury. I just moved some boxes around, and I just moved some boxes around to hide them from a federal grand jury, are two totally different statements.
Yes, because in the second statement you're talking about intent, which is very, very difficult to prove. And if the recording is okay, so I'm still not entirely clear on the audio recording, because I have heard that there is one, and I have seen a transcript. I have not heard the recording itself, so I'm not entirely clear on the credibility of that particular claim of evidence. But the facts are, what he's being charged with is the possession of presidential documents.
Yeah, and then going on Mark Levin's analysis, because I really went down the rabbit hole on this. I don't know if you can tell, but going on Mark Levin's analysis, yes, Trump violated the Presidential Records Act, but the Presidential Records Act was never intended to be used to bring criminal prosecution against a president. It's a civil thing. It's supposed to just be a way to clarify how you handle paperwork in these situations. To use it as a backdoor to bring charges against Trump goes against the original intent of the law.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a pretty wide spectrum of things. I am concerned that Donald Trump is in deep shit. I'm not worried about the stuff in New York. I'm not even really worried about the stuff here in Georgia. Like, Fani Willis has proven herself to be a TV prosecutor. She goes after rappers and stuff like that. Anything that'll get her name in the news and make her look good. And Donald Trump would be a hell of a feather in her cap. But
she's a female Crump.
That's not bad. She's a female Ben Crump. That's good. However, the feds have got such an absurdly high conviction rate. It's literally 99 point something percent. Like, if the feds indict you, you better hope they let you cut a plea deal, is what it amounts to.
Right.
Because otherwise, you go into prison for like 10 years.
Right. Because and that's because, I mean, first they have the prosecutorial discretion to only choose cases in which they believe they have a high degree of probability of closing a conviction. And as we've seen on multiple occasions, just in recent memory, they're more than happy to fabricate evidence to secure that conviction.
The FBI being willing to engage in entrapment or even outright fabrication, yes, but that's not what's at issue here. What's at issue here is there are multiple people named in the indictment that I'm not saying it's not all bullshit, but the indictment is so well cross-referenced and between what he told his attorneys to do versus what he told his body man to do versus how his attorneys inadvertently made incorrect statements to the FBI. Like, one of the things that's in the indictment is that when Trump's attorneys lied to the FBI, they lied to the FBI because Trump had so well lied to them, they thought they were in compliance with everything the FBI had asked for. So, I mean, that's a pretty serious charge. So, I don't think we do ourselves, our side, or Donald Trump any favors by pretending like there's no real jeopardy here. And again, if we go back to like Trump's personality and how defiant and brazen he is, like he's essentially he's essentially been treated like shit for the better part of a decade, despite being a pretty good president and like at everything with the, very fine people on both sides. Well, he didn't actually say neo-Nazis were fine people. When he said that, that they're bringing, that Mexico is sending their rapists and gang members over the border, he didn't say all Mexicans were rapists and gang members and so forth and so on. And everything that's happened to him, the neutering of Jeff Sessions, the neutering of General Flynn, all that's terrible. So we get to the end, Trump knows they're trying to come after him. He knows that we're literally wiretapping him while he was still a candidate.
And after he was elected.
And after he was elected and everything else. So, so to just say, oh, well, this is just a nothing burger. That is a dangerous...
Okay, I need to clear something up real quick because I think you've misinterpreted basically what I'm saying in my position. I have not said that Trump's not in any real jeopardy here. My point is that the jeopardy he's in is as a result of the corruption of the DOJ and the illegitimacy of the charges he's facing. A piece of the illegitimacy of the charges pending is the obvious and targeted corruption of the DOJ. It's not just that the DOJ and all subordinate agencies of the DOJ have been deeply and grossly corrupted by the Democrat Party and external influences like China and Middle Eastern organizations. But specifically, they have been corrupted and turned and weaponized against Donald Trump. And the statement you made a moment ago referencing the very fine people hoax and the like is only more evidence to the claim that I'm making. There is every chance that a conviction can be secured. Trump does have some very strong legal defenses, not least of which many of the things which are alleged as crimes are in fact not crimes.
See, but we don't know that. We've never had this tested in court before.
Say again?
We don't actually know that. No former president has ever faced this type of legal persecution before. We don't actually know how this is going to argue out or play out in court. Everybody has an opinion. And I happen to think that I don't think this should be a crime for him, frankly, for Obama or for anybody else who's ever sat in that chair. But we do not know what's going to happen until this goes in front of a jury. And fair or unfair, I don't think it's fair, But to say that we don't know the legal outcome of this is not factual. Nobody knows because it's never happened before.
Well, I have a pretty high degree of confidence that it's not going to make it to a jury, precisely because the persecuting entities, which is the DOJ, the subordinate entities like the FBI, etc., the interested parties like the DNC, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bidens, the people that are driving the corruption here cannot afford personally to see Donald Trump suffer a conviction under this, because that opens the door. Now, once that door's opened, and this I think is the more interesting and relevant fact here. Following the arraignment, Donald Trump made a statement that when he is elected in 2024, he will go after Joe Biden and the bribery crimes and the obvious corruption scandals of the Biden crime family with what he called a real or legitimate special counsel to prosecute the crimes of the Biden family. And I would love to see that. And this isn't just me saying, let's talk about old Schadenfreude and how good it would feel to see Joe Biden get his comeuppance. But more importantly, and this is part of what I was talking about yesterday with the escalation and the arms race of lawfare. Right now, there are no consequences for the bad acts of the corrupt party, which is the DNC, and some Republicans. Okay, yes, some Republicans, all Democrats without exception, right? The corruption of the Democrat Party is so grotesque, largely because there are no consequences for it. The corruption has gone to such a point that they are literally and functionally above the law, because the corruption is so entrenched that they have absolute immunity to just commit crimes with impunity and know ahead of time that they will not suffer any consequences for committing those crimes, even when those crimes are laid out on a silver platter with the evidence just completely exposed to public scrutiny. Like,
you mean like Hunter's dick?
Like Hunter's dick, Hunter's pistol, Hunter's crack, Hunter's hookers, Hunter's underage
potentially underage hookers. Yeah,
Yep.
Let's be clear.
Right. I mean, just no consequences whatsoever. So if Trump's elected in 2024, and I think there's still actually a very good chance of that.
It might have gone up.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a post on Twitter earlier today that referred to him as the last legitimately elected president. It was Cat Turd. Cat Turd is correct.
That's funny. And we can make that joke on YouTube now.
We can.
Figure. Now that it's too late to do anything about it, if there's any truth to it.
Right. We're allowed to talk about how the 2020 election was stolen now, because they're getting ready to steal the 2024.
That'll be the one we're not allowed to talk about.
Well, they're going to want to talk about it because they're going to get their asses whipped. And then they're going to want to be able to say that Donald Trump stole the election.
When Donald Trump wins, it's theft. When Donald Trump loses, it's legit. So then when Donald Trump wins again and becomes the second Grover Cleveland,
then it's okay to talk about stealing an election again. But let's assume he wins. He appoints the special prosecutor. If Donald Trump does not go after Joe Biden with the full weaponized power of the U.S. government in the DOJ, after firing everything that's ever looked at the letter D and replacing them with a rock-ribbed, near corrupt level, dedicated conservative, then not the perception of reality going forward, but the fact of reality going forward is that if you are a Republican, you will serve time in prison for merely having opinions. And if you are a Democrat, you will be immune to prison and prosecution without exception for all crimes up to including child trafficking and murder.
So, okay. There's two pieces to that. And again, like, maybe this is why I'm misunderstanding your position. Donald Trump, and this is entirely my opinion, having digested so much of it, so many of other people's opinions, okay? But Donald Trump is being persecuted for political reasons.
I think that's obvious, yes.
But he's being charged, and in my estimation, this is going to be the hardest thing for him to get past. But he's being charged because he even lied to his own lawyers. Like, that's baked into the cake here. And I mean, that's a tough thing for any logical person to get past. And then we have the other side of what you're saying and what Donald Trump is saying. I'm going to deliberately take those words and simplify them and rearrange them to make a point. Elect me so that I can put my opponent in jail. That is a rough place to be in, because
it is.
And look, I'm not saying that the Bidens are not corrupt. Like, I don't think it's any accident that all this stuff drops on Trump right at the same time all these other things drop on the Bidens. And which one is the media talking about? Well, They're not talking about all the stuff. They're not talking about the $5 million bribe for the Bidens. No, they're talking about all this stuff with Trump.
It's not a $5 million bribe for the Bidens. It's a $5 million bribe to Hunter and a separate $5 million bribe to Joe.
Look,
for the Bidens, it's a $10 million bribe.
But the point is, okay,
from the guy who was being investigated by the prosecutor that was fired contemporaneously with the professional acquisition of Hunter Biden into Burisma.
Look,
yeah.
The point is, none of that is being talked about. And I specifically meant the $5 million that went to Joe. Okay, because that's pretty intense. I'm not saying that I don't think they're corrupt or guilty or any of that, but I am saying that that's the world that we live in now. Like, elect me so I can throw that other guy. Not elect me so that I can put violent felons in jail. Not elect me so that I can go after the organized crime in this city. Not elect me so that I can take down the mob. But elect me so I can take down my political opponent. Corrupt political opponent, granted. But still elect me so that I can put my political opponent in jail. I think we really quickly come to a point where who wants to run for office? We've already got a very small pool of shallow and narcissistic people.
We do. But what we're looking at right now is the Penguin is the president and Bruce Wayne is running for office.
Okay. Look, again.
So when and I'm backing you up on this a bit, because, like, yes, what we have now is, instead of saying elect me and I'll go after the mob, we have a politician saying elect me and I'll go after my political opponent. The fact of the matter is, his political opponent is the mob, and that's not hyperbole. That's not metaphor. When you're talking about Democrat politicians, you're talking about Chicago machine politicians. You're talking about union stoolies, where the union funds the politician, and the union is essentially just the public face of actual Cosa Nostra mob agents. You're talking about an organization that specializes. They're not just corrupted; they specialize in corrupting institutions and establishing public-facing institutions like Planned Parenthood, BLM, etc., the Clinton Foundation, to name a few, whose clear primary function is to money launder into the DNC. While you're right that that it's scary to think that what we have is a president that's saying, I'll go after my political opponent. What we have right now is a president who was elected partially on, I will go after Donald Trump and I will put Donald Trump in prison. And made some very explicit statements to that regard. That was, I will engage in a coup against the sitting president. And now what we have is there was a coup by the literal mob, by a literal organized crime family to take over the country. And if you elect me, if you elect Donald Trump, I will fight back against that organized crime.
Okay.
So it's not that he's not saying I'm going to go after the mob. It's that the mob and the president are the same entity.
Okay. So two things. One, I completely agree that the Bidens are corrupt and that the Bidens are proving themselves to actually be more corrupt than I would have guessed. It's almost comical. And I said, "Oh, like they're 50% corrupt." Oh no, buddy, you didn't aim high enough.
You know,
okay?
we've stumbled on that before. Like when we underestimated the damage of Obamacare, we tend to be right, but fail to adequately over exaggerate the satirical. I mean, the DNC is an absolute parody of corruption.
So, but I think there's other things that you could do other than promising to directly target your political opponent. Like, you can't get around the fact that he is promising to directly target his political opponent. And as a practical matter, because this is something that I've actually been thinking about, Trump could get elected and suspend the FBI. Just suspend it. And then just like Elon Musk did with Twitter, Elon Musk just showed up and was like, anybody that doesn't want to play ball, there's the door.
Yep.
And he brought in his own people, and they were like, you can't have Tesla engineers figure out Twitter code. Turns out, yes, you can have Tesla engineers figure out Twitter code. And sure, he's... there were a few bad apples that managed to slip through the cracks a couple of times. But Twitter's a completely different place now. Like, I mean, okay, it's still a sewer, but at least it's a fair sewer, a fairer sewer. And with very few exceptions, that whole free speech thing that Elon Musk promised is happening. So I would think that it would be entirely possible for something similar to happen. For Donald Trump to say, I'm going to bring in my own people, just take all this stuff over, and let the chips fall where they fall. I mean, like, for example, the FBI knew about Hunter Biden's laptop. They knew about it. So then, instead of promising to go after Hunter or Joe Biden, you go after all the people that covered it up. And buddy, the caged bird will sing in that situation. Oh, you're going to do 25 years in a federal penitentiary unless you tell the truth about how far back this conspiracy to hide the laptop goes? Buddy, that'll all work itself out.
Okay, so real quick, we're a little long. I don't want to shut it down just yet, but give me just a tick. I need to double check real quick how much time I've got before my first appointment, which is in, Lithonia. Okay, I've got time. And because Alex is asking this question, is that what you would want to see, though, a Republican using the justice system the same way the Democrats are? So I'm going to be repeating myself a little bit, but let me clarify. I'm going to try to clarify this for everybody. It's not that I want to see the Republican Party use the justice system the way the Democrats are, and then the result of that is that we have a situation where whenever a Republican is in office, Democrats are being prosecuted in nakedly, obviously political prosecutions that are in substantial ways illegitimate. And simultaneously, if there's a Democrat in office, then that is happening to Republicans. So every time you elect a Republican, Democrats are going to jail. And every time you elect a Democrat, Republicans are going to jail. That is not something that I want to see generally. However, what we are seeing right now is that unless that happens, we're in a situation where if Democrats are in office, Republicans go to jail. And if Republicans are in office, Democrats are still immune for all the crimes that they do commit. So your options are not Republicans corrupt the justice system or the justice system remains uncorrupted. Your options are the Democrats remain in control exclusively of a deeply corrupted justice system, or Republicans take that corruption and weaponize it to the extent that the justice system itself, which has been deeply corrupted, is destroyed and rebuilt afresh. Never forget this one key fact. The FBI was created originally with the purpose of being a corrupt organization and has never been other than that. The federal government generally was created initially in good faith with the expectation that its job would be merely to coordinate between several sovereign states and then serve as a central adjudicator to ameliorate conflicts and disputes between those states and provide for the national defense to guarantee secure borders for the purposes of providing secure capacity for trade and commerce between states and foreign entities. The police powers of the federal government are illegitimate usurpations of the Constitution. That is not what the role of the federal government was supposed to be. The creation of the FBI was corrupt at its core. And the extent of the power of the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to interfere in issues of states' laws is a deep and grotesque corruption of the entire intent of the founders' documents. Where we are now is that corruption has been seized and weaponized by one party exclusively to the detriment of not only the opposition party, but the liberty and prosperity of the entire nation. And when I say the liberty and prosperity of the entire nation, understand that everywhere, like California, New York, etc., where Democrats are in control, the result is an extraordinarily rapid rise in crime and poverty. Those of us who have chosen better are being forced at gunpoint by an unconstitutional central authority which has abused and altered the Constitution to create corrupt organizations like the FBI, the ATF, the IRS, in order to abuse the goodwill of the people of the United States of America and confiscate our wealth and our liberty through threat of violence in order to subsidize the lowest, least valuable degenerates in this country. So, no, I don't want to see the Republicans using the corrupt justice system in the way that they necessarily must. But at the same time, as much as I don't want to see anybody get killed, If I'm standing in a room with another armed man and I'm holding a gun and he says he's going to kill me, he had best to hurry up, because I will leave that room if I have half a chance to do so. If only one of us can leave, I will do everything in my power to guarantee it is myself.
Thank you.
Alex, that is correct. Oh, the badges didn't play, son of a bitch. That's what happens when the video breaks.
I don't think I'm being Pollyannish, but I could understand if that would be the accusation that no.
Wrong video.
No.
Let's try to fix the thing. Whatever. Go back to the thumbnail for now until we... Son of a bitch, the video broke. So I get to play with that this evening. So yeah, you'll watch out this evening for a random pop-up tech call while I try to fix the video.
Look,
that might be a Rumble exclusive.
I was going to say this might be... I could see why you would think that this is Pollyannish, but yes, I understand that the institution is corrupt and they're willing to use the corrupt institution and we are not, so that puts us at a disadvantage. I hear you. 100%. Which is why I'm attracted to some version of the idea that I put forth. We just come in and you gut the institution itself. Like, Hillary Clinton is immune because, not because her last name is Clinton, not even because she's a Democrat, even though those things are part of it. Hillary Clinton is immune because the institutions itself that should penalize her choose not to. I mean, Comey came out and said, yeah, we basically got her dead to rights, but because she didn't mean to do a bad, no reasonable prosecutor will bring charges. So that's the thing. That you get rid of the Comeys, the Clintons have no more power.
Okay, so the thing that you just said is actually also a reasonable defense for Trump at the moment as well, because Comey made that argument. No reasonable prosecutor would bring these charges. There is the argument that what Trump is accused of and what Hillary was proved to have done, because remember, when he said no reasonable prosecutor would bring these charges, that same press conference included the statements, we have the evidence, we've seen the evidence, there is no doubt that she did the thing she's accused of. She is 100% guilty of the crime, but we will not prosecute because of the grounds on intent. Comey literally changed the law at that, but he chose to legislate from a podium. If what Comey did stands in the law, then Trump should not be vulnerable to any reasonable prosecutor.
I mean, that's all well and good. That's a good. I even think that that's the kind of thing that could like win a debate if somebody would come on with us and debate the merits of the case. But I mean, that doesn't change the fact that doesn't mean Trump's not guilty. That means now we're arguing about the intent behind Trump's guilt, and that's not the place you want to be in when the feds are bringing charges against you. That also doesn't speak to the point that I was making about if you get rid of the James Comeys, the Hillary Clintons are no longer immune. I mean, fine, whatever Comey legislated, and maybe there's some clever way that Trump's lawyers can use what Comey said to help Trump out. But that doesn't speak to what I said. Because what I said was, you get rid of the Comeys, the Clintons follow. That's why I went back and made the thing about Elon Musk came in, took over Twitter, and literally in just a few months, he cleaned house. 90% of the bullshit at Twitter went away. And so that's what I'm suggesting. Instead of saying, elect me and I'll put Joe Biden in jail, he could be saying, elect me and I will suspend the FBI day one.
I wonder what that would do to his polling numbers, honestly. I honestly, I suspect it wouldn't change them much, if at all.
His polling numbers are already going to be as high as they can get now, because there's going to be a whole lot of people that were like, oh, I was thinking about going somebody else, and then you keep charging him with crimes, and now Trump's my man.
So Alex says you can't prosecute me for this because you didn't prosecute her is not a legal precedent. And unfortunately, Alex is right, because precedent is made when the court actually does something. That the prosecutor chose not to take action is a legal defense. If you can walk into the court and say, hey, they chose not to prosecute her, and these were the circumstances, this is how these circumstances are similar, etc. That's a legal defense, but you're correct. It is not established precedent. And then this got to be the last thing, and then I got to get going. Alex says, would anybody believe Donald Trump's threats to put anyone in jail? He promised to lock up Hillary. Nothing came of that. Why would anything come of Biden? Okay. I actually have a great deal of faith in his claim that he'll go after Biden for a few reasons.
Because Biden went after him.
Biden went after him particularly, right? Biden went after Trump particularly, and there is a vengeful streak and a question of pride. Trump is an egomaniac. That's not an insult that he can just leave lying there, and especially for a frickin' New Yorker like he is. The other thing is there are reasons that he didn't go after Hillary. I don't like them, but he didn't go after Hillary for precisely the same reasons that we're arguing we don't want to see Republicans have to weaponize and abuse the DOJ in the same way the Democrats do. Trump was pretty clear about this. Basically, the only reason he didn't go after Hillary is because that would have been, no matter how just and correct it would have been, it would have had at a minimum, the appearance of impropriety, because it would be a president, a duly elected president, then going after persecuting and prosecuting his defeated opposition. And that would have been a thing that he had to deal with in the re-election campaign. So you've got two things here. Trump has now been victim of the evidence that no matter how good you are at playing by the Marcus Queensberry rules and trying to play a fair game, the Democrats are not interested in playing by the rules. They will lie, cheat, and steal all day, every day. They don't give a shit about the rules. And then the second piece of it is Trump he has no vested interest in a re-election campaign because it's not an option for him. So he has no use or need to maintain the appearance of propriety once he is elected. There's a lot of reasons that I'm going to vote for Donald Trump at the primary, and he will absolutely have my support if he's the nominee. But not least among them is it's about time that we set that bull loose in the China shop and tear it down. It would not break my heart at all if all the walls in the China shop were to fall under his enraged and gnashing boot.
Yeah, so We're like 20 minutes past.
Yeah, we are, and I got to get to Lithonia. So, thanks for watching. Go ahead.
And Sergeant Major, we were not ignoring you. He's commenting furiously on.
Yeah,
and then he switches over to YouTube and starts commenting over here. It's like, no, we're not ignoring you, my dude. I promise.
And he asked the question about who sits on the federal grand jury. I don't know. So there's, yeah.
That is a good question.
Thanks for watching, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.